midfield, number 17, Octavio Guzman. At midfield, number 8, Dragan Stoichkov. At forward, number 9, Christian Valesky. And at forward, number 19, Jose Angulo. St. Louis FC is coached by Preki.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Highmark Stadium here in beautiful Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for today's Eastern Conference matchup between the hosts, the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, and the visitors, St. Louis FC. Good evening, everybody. Tyler Terrence here with Morgan Conklin, former Virginia Tech Hokie. And Morgan, this is going to be an electric matchup. Two teams coming off of dramatic late game winners in their last games.
Both teams have the momentum right now. As you said, big wins for both teams, so they're both going to be looking to just build off of their last game.
Absolutely, and there's going to be one player in particular on the Pittsburgh side who we are going to keep an eye on, and that is young Mr. Corey Herzog, who had the game winner in their previous matchup against Charleston in stoppage time.
He's been fantastic so far this year. One of 5 players with 3 goals to lead the league so far this year, and he scored in each one of their games. He's been unstoppable so far for Pittsburgh.
Herzog in fantastic form for Coach Dave Brandt in his second year with Pittsburgh. And on the other side, it's a man who used to be familiar with Highmark Stadium, Jose Angulo.
The 2013 USL MVP during his time with Pittsburgh, tied for 4th in the club's all-time goals. He had 15 goals during his year with them. And so far this year for St. Louis, their last game, he had a goal and an assist.
Absolutely, and we're going to take a look at the starting lineup, starting with Pittsburgh, and they're coming off that fantastic win against Charleston. A couple of bumps and bruises along the way, so there are a couple changes in the midfield as well as at the back line.
And the main change will be in that center back position. Joe Greenspan is out on loan from MLS's Minnesota United. A big center back, 6'5", and he played for Coach Brandt during his time at Navy, so keep an eye out for him tonight.
Absolutely, and now we'll take a look at the starters for St. Louis. Everything has almost stayed the same with one change up top being Angulo.
We mentioned Angulo earlier. He's going to be great tonight. Watch him how he works with Christian Valesky, the other forward. Valesky only has 2 shots this year, but 2 goals. That's a good ratio for him. He'll be matched up against Joe Greenspan for Pittsburgh, so that'll be a key matchup to watch throughout the game.
Both teams coming off late dramatic winners in their previous games. St. Louis unbeaten in the season so far. Should make for a great matchup. We'll be back in just a few.
Through the years, you've done right by investing in your home. And now, you can use that equity to borrow money for the things you need. With a low 1.99% APR and no fees, you can apply for a home equity loan online and use the money to upgrade to that minivan, make home improvements, or finance college. At Clearview, we can help you find ways to use the equity in your home for more important things. Let us help. Visit us online for more information. Clearview Federal Credit Union, the next generation of personal banking.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
How many times have you done it before? You good?
Yeah.
Okay. You got 50 seconds. You have to stay here for a little bit.
Hold for that.
Yeah?
Call 412 Doctors for an appointment with a sports medicine specialist at Allegheny Health Network.
Come celebrate the 5th anniversary of Highmark Stadium as the Hounds take on the Harrisburg City Islanders in the first leg of the 2017 Keystone Derby. Presented by K&L Gates and the Pennsylvania Lottery. Anniversary water bottles to the first 2,000 fans in attendance. Dollar beers until kickoff. Door prizes and special $5 general admission tickets while supplies last. Visit riverhounds.com or call 412-865-GOAL.
Stay low. Stay low. Change of speed. Change of speed. Explode. Explode. Trust it. Very nice. Very nice.
Call 412 Doctors for an appointment with an orthopedic specialist at Allegheny Health Network.
Good evening, sports fans, and welcome inside beautiful Highmark Stadium here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. 60 degrees and sunny for this fantastic matchup between the Riverhounds and the visitors St. Louis FC. Tyler Terrens alongside former Virginia Tech Hokie Morgan Conklin, and the fans are ready for some football. We hope you are too, as some of the pregame rituals taking place here. Coaches exchanging pleasantries, and there is Preki, the man in charge for St. Louis. And Morgan, this man has so much experience as a player, as a coach, and we think he's found a home with St. Louis.
And as a player, how exciting to play for somebody who's just succeeded at all levels.
And on the other side, it's going to be Dave Brandt in his second season with Pittsburgh. First full season after stepping in midway through last year. And Dave Brandt, who was originally at Messiah College, more recently the Naval Academy. And he's looking to get a big 3 points coming off that dramatic game winner against Charleston just a few days ago. Quick turnaround for both teams, Morgan. And when you were playing, when you sort of had that midweek game following the weekend, was there a different approach in terms of preparing your body?
Well, you just don't have your normal week leading up to the next game. But oftentimes, it's good if you have momentum, it's easier to keep it going because you don't have to wait a week of just training until your next game.
Absolutely is. St. Louis getting a couple touches. They're going to be wearing the white with the black stripe across their uniforms, moving from right to left. Pittsburgh in the yellow, black shorts and yellow socks, moving from left to right. And we are underway in Pittsburgh. Massive fixture here as St. Louis unbeaten in their first 3 games of the season. Only points dropped was a tie against Louisville, 0-0 draw against Louisville FC in the first game of the season, as right away St. Louis coughing the ball up and getting his first touch will be Broom, the goalkeeper for Pittsburgh, getting his first start after giving up 3 goals in that season opener against New York Red Bulls. And looking to keep a clean sheet today between the pipes for David Brandt. It was Trey Mitchell who stepped in after Broom gave up those 3 goals, had a couple of solid outings. And we had that game against Cincinnati where it just things just sort of unraveled for them in the 42nd minute. Hopefully we'll be able to see a Pittsburgh team with 11 aside for the entire 90 minutes. Octavio Guzman. David with a penetrating fall, finding Bjerman. A couple of different faces in the middle of the field for Pittsburgh, and one big absence for the Riverhounds and Coach David Brandt. Somebody who he was definitely upset to see go was Ben Swanson, who suffered that ankle injury. He's putting timeline on about at least a month on the injury to Swanson. We don't have the exact report yet as to what type of injury it was, but when we saw him, he's a youngster. He was getting his first pro debut in that game against Cincinnati. Really makes things go in the middle of the field for Pittsburgh.
But the good news for them is they have players who can fill in there. They have a couple changes in the back line also. We mentioned Joe Greenspan in the open, how he's sliding into that center back role. So a couple changes in the midfield, but they have the depth to make up for that.
And that man right there throwing the ball in is Jack Thompson. Played for manager David Brandt at Messiah College for a couple of years. And Coach David Brandt had nothing but fantastic things to say about his former collegiate player, Jack Thompson, as it goes out wide. Ball whipped in from Washington as Kerr was lurking in the area. Oh, it's going to skip all the way across for Ryan Howe, 23-year-old out of Rockford, Illinois.
Ryan Howe wasn't able to keep the ball there. His touch got a little away from him, but you could see him pick his head up and look for that long ball. St. Louis looks for their early goals. We talked about Christian Valeski in the open. Only 2 shots on goal, but 2 goals for him. Both of his goals came within the first 5 minutes. 1 in the 3rd minute, 1 in the 5th minute. So they look to push the pace early, because if you can get that first goal in an early lead, it can completely change how the game goes.
Flicking it on is Angulo, one of our featured players in today's matchup, former Pittsburgh Riverhound, 2013 MVP in the United Soccer League, scoring 15 goals for Pittsburgh, and now back here at Highmark Stadium. And it'll be interesting to see if he does score a goal today. We see a lot how players who score against a team that they used to play for and gave them so much, they'll kind of dial down the celebration a little bit. So we'll see if Angulo puts the ball in the back of the net, and perhaps if there is a celebration or lack thereof, but certainly capable of putting it in the back of the net for St. Louis, and it was certainly a good pickup for this squad to pair along with Christian Valeski and Angulo getting the start up top today for Preki in his first season with St. Louis, as Guzman fighting for in the middle of the field. And here's Joe Greenspan getting his first touch. Greenspan, as our broadcast partner mentioned, loaned out from Minnesota United, was originally drafted by the Colorado Rapids, actually played for Dave Brandt at the Naval Academy, giving Brandt really that sort of next step up in terms of the resume, bringing Navy to the 2nd round of the NCAA tournament, a Patriot League championship. And Joe Greenspan was originally a forward at Navy and transitioned in between his sophomore and junior year, was a very solid player in the Patriot League as a forward, scoring a few goals here and there. But when he made that switch to center back, something just clicked as far as his soccer IQ, and he really skyrocketed, being named an All-American his junior and senior year, and actually signed a 6-year deal with the Navy, obviously serving our country. And his naval duties have been lifted for a period of time, and Minnesota wants to see him get some minutes, and a great opportunity for Joe here with Pittsburgh.
And you mentioned how he transitioned from that forward to defensive position. Last night on the USL Game of the Week, we were looking at Sacramento. 3 of their 4
and here's a big giveaway. Sorry to interrupt, Morgan, and there's the shot, and there's the goal. A disastrous mistake at the back for St. Louis, and it's Kay Banjo who makes them pay. The youngster in his first start for Pittsburgh getting a massive goal for the home side. They lead 1-0 over St. Louis.
We talked about how the early goal is so important, but we talked about it for St. Louis. a terrible giveaway in the back there. Banjo just waiting for the ball. That's a simple finish for him. He had no players right around him. That giveaway cannot happen from the goalkeeper. He kicked it right to Banjo. Simple finish for him. That's about as easy as it gets.
Kate Banjo as cool as you like in the box once he stole the ball away, and you saw it on Davala Gorik's face. It was just utter disbelief that his center backs could make that big of a mistake this early on in the game. And that's what Dave Brandt was mentioning to us during the call, was just the ability to be able to press further up the field, turn the team over in a dangerous area, and then capitalizing, and it doesn't really get much better than that.
Well, they didn't even win the ball. They just had the pressure, which caused a poor pass. So sometimes that's what it is the high pressure, and you don't always win the ball with the high pressure, but you cause turnovers and you cause mistakes. So that's why the high pressure is so important, because if you push together as a team, you're going to cause mistakes for the other team.
Here's Valesky trying to turn the corner, and there's the big 6'5" frame from Joe Greenspan shielding him off. As Kay Banjo, just 24 years old, a rookie here in the USL, getting his first pro start. Nice way to start in the first 6 minutes, right?
What a way. I mean, 5 minutes in, your first professional start, put one in the back of the net, in the right place at the right time, causing the other team to cough up the ball. Can't get much better for him.
Well, he may just be 4 years old and a rookie, but the finish was just as cool as you'd like. He kept a calm head, and sometimes we'll see a lot of players snatch at that opportunity. It goes wide, maybe right at the keeper, but he knew exactly where he wanted to go with that and buried it.
Well, I mentioned it doesn't get much easier for him than that. Winning the ball doesn't get much easier for him. The finish, that's difficult because he didn't have a defender on him, as I mentioned, but there were players coming to close the space. But as you said, you still have to be calm and collected and just have the focus to push it, the composure. You have to be able to push it to the corners. So it doesn't get much easier for him to win the ball there. It was given to him pretty much, but the composure that he showed to just slot it in the corner, that's what was top-notch.
Well, it's a dream start for Pittsburgh, as their fans as well as the technical staff, I'm sure, very pleased with the way things have started in the opening 7 minutes. As Greenspan finding Jack Thompson along the sidelines for Kevin Kerr, as Kerr was involved in both goals in the game against Charleston. And while Dave Brandt obviously had so many good things to say about Corey Herzog, who's really getting all of the glory, Kerr has really been involved in almost all of Corey's goals this season.
Well, and he said in the 2 goals last week, he set them both up. Kerr has been not the biggest name because Corey, I mean, leads the league right now in goals. But as you said, Kerr has set him up for mostly everything, and he's been a versatile player, both in the forward position, but he's found his way out wide a little bit, a little more centrally. So he's just been very versatile. And Coach Brandt just spoke so highly of him and just praised the fact that he's a veteran and understands what his coach needs from him and how he's just doing what they need and what's best for the team. So he just spoke so highly of him earlier this week.
Well, Kevin Kerr, certainly a wise soccer mind, 28 years of age, from York, England originally, his 5th season with the Riverhounds. Sports the captain armband for manager David Brandt, tied for 10th all time in points with the Riverhounds, and really stepping into a nice role and a very nice compliment to Corey Herzog up top, and he's making the most of this opportunity with a very solid young as well as mixed in with a couple of veteran squad. And they're off to a dream start here against the St. Louis team that has only dropped 2 points this season so far. We mentioned that 0-0 draw against Louisville in the season opener, but they've had a couple of fantastic wins against Ottawa as well as the reigning USL champion New York Red Bull more recently, as it was the substitute Sean Rudolph who gave the winner for St. Louis in the 87th minute. And then we see Preki, manager for St. Louis FC, probably not exactly thrilled with the way his team has started, but it is early, and the one thing that a manager can't say if a goal is scored this early is that there will be goals in this one. You know it's not going to end in a 0-0 draw, so an opportunity maybe for St. Louis to counter.
Well, and they're in an unfamiliar position right now because normally in their 2 of their past games, they scored a goal in the first 5 minutes. So it's a little unfamiliar waters that St. Louis is feeling right now.
Here's Taylor Washington working on a couple of St. Louis defenders. Ball will somehow stay in bounds. Stoikov trying to get rid of it. There's Hollingsworth, provided the equalizer against Charleston. Banjo trying to flick it on for Herzog. Guzman trying to step and win the ball, but Taylor Washington extremely high up the pitch. Greenspan Caught in a little bit of trouble there, but able to win the throw-in for Pittsburgh. Here's Tyler David. For Ledbetter. Pittsburgh continuing to press up the field and forcing Gorick to have to go along with it and take Route 1, but we see that press from Pittsburgh just causing all sorts of problems for St. Louis, and they just can't seem to find that penetrating pass in the middle of the field to relieve pressure.
And you mentioned how Gorick has to force it. That's what Pittsburgh wants. They want all of these players, when they pressure, to force it and not be able to play where they want. Because if you have time, you can break the pressure and you can make the pass out. But if you can't see, you have to force it, and you don't have much time on the ball. So that's what Pittsburgh's wanting, because they have the numbers in the middle that if the ball's forced there, they can win it.
And just like that, Kevin Kerr winning the ball right on cue for Morgan. And it'll be a free kick for Pittsburgh, as their defensive scheme paying dividends early on in the form of a goal as well as possession here. And when we were talking with Coach Brand, he just was always harping on the point that it is a different style of play for a lot of these guys. You know, some of them maybe come from clubs where they're just taught to maybe sit back a little bit and sort of, you know, absorb pressure rather than just go after the opponent right away. And, you know, he says it is difficult, but, you know, a guy like Joe Greenspan who played for him, guys like Jack Thompson who played for him, you know, those are the types of guys that are going to be able to sort of sprinkle into the mix with the players as well as the coaches exactly what the technical staff wants them to do. And obviously starting to buy in, and it is paying off as we're going to get a stoppage here. Looks like a player is down. And it looks like it's Jamal Jack who's currently down. Jamal Jack, 29-year-old from Trinidad and Tobago center back for this Pittsburgh team, was towards the St. Louis net trying to get a flick on of the set piece, and I mean some pain at the moment. And besides the goal, Pittsburgh has just been very impressive with the way that they're trying to shape out this St. Louis while they're trying to possess. And we'll take another look at exactly what happened. The ball sent in towards Kerr at the back post, and looked like Ryan Howe might have caught Jack with an elbow or a hand or what have you, as physio and the training staff attending to Jamal Jack at the moment. Spent some time in El Salvador playing for CD Dragon. A couple of caps with the Trinidad and Tobago national team, as Jack able to get to his feet. And getting a nice round of applause from the fans here at Highmark Stadium. Obviously, you have to wait and see whether or not Jamal can continue on, but injuries continue to plague this Pittsburgh team. Obviously, with Swanson going out last week, and that was the reason why they brought in Joe Greenspan. They were thin at the center back position, and they might just get even thinner if Jamal isn't able to go. Obviously, you have to wait and see.
I hope he's okay, because they have had so much transition in that central area, especially in the back line. So you hope he's okay, just because that changes a lot and it makes some decisions for Coach Brandt.
Here's Howe. Sends it in towards the middle, towards Valesky. He gets ahead to it. Oh, and it's just whiskers wide of the post. Broom was a little unsure whether to come out, and Valesky had a great opportunity there. He's probably going to want that one back.
Well, what set that up was a terrible giveaway by Pittsburgh. It went right to the St. Louis player. Great ball played in, a good floated ball. Made Broom decide, am I going to come out all the way? Am I not? Valesky just sprinted towards the ball. Great job for him to get in front of the ball, because as you said, Kiesel Broom just hesitated a second, and waiting that one moment, that one beat, allows Valesky just to sprint forward and get to the ball. But Broom did a good job, got a little piece of it. But Valesky proving to be dangerous.
Howe up the wing for Bjorman. Scored a goal in the game against Ottawa, 3-2 victory at Toyota Stadium in beautiful St. Louis. There's Bjorman again, and the offsides flag goes up on the far side. Pittsburgh doing a nice job of holding their lines, and Does look like Jamal Jack is back on the field and ready to go, so he will stay with Joe Greenspan at central defense for manager Dave Brandt. There we see Broom, 25-year-old at Claymont, Delaware, in his first season with Pittsburgh, originally at Harrisburg City, as this is going to force Gorick off his line. And you can see the series between these two teams, both ending in draws. And I think we'll find a winner at the end of today, don't you?
I don't see going 3 games with 3 draws. I mean, you never know. But I feel like both teams are looking for a win. They need one for this year, but also in the series between the two of them. One of them wants to be ahead of the other.
Well, sometimes you can't see during those midweek games. Teams are a bit more reserved in the way that they play, but we haven't seen any signs of that from Pittsburgh early on.
Well, Pittsburgh just had a fantastic start for them. It wasn't going to be a complacent game for them. They made that known right from the start. St. Louis a bit caught off guard. As we said, they're used to scoring the early goal, but they've started to respond now. They've gotten some more attack going forward, but they're going to continue to try to find their top strikers.
Here's David for Bjurman. Now going all the way out wide. Service into the middle. Stopped initially by Greenspan, but still work to do. David up for a strong header, and it was actually 2 Pittsburgh players who were challenging each other, and Broom preventing the corner and doing nicely. Pittsburgh have given away in precarious areas a couple of times, as it looks like Ryan Howe going to wind up for a long throw-in. We saw something special off a long throw-in last night. Here's Howe. It's flicked on. Now here's Kerr trying to relieve some pressure. Or rather, Hollingsworth. Now here's Howe again. Big sweeping ball across for Angulo, trying to lay it off. Guzman in the area, but it was Hollingsworth with some nice work, but it's only as far as Sharpie. Angulo twisting and turning. Not able to keep it in bounds. It'll go back to Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh got lucky to win that battle right there on the sideline. The clearances aren't good enough. They have to be further. They have to be up the field because they've been caught a little within their box, and every time they try to clear, it goes right back to St. Louis. They've pushed their defenders higher to win that ball, so the clearances have to be up and away further because they're not breaking pressure.
Howe's gotten a number of touches out here on the left side thus far. Outside back getting very involved in the St. Louis attack. There's Ledbetter. And for Cochran. Deflection from Greenspan ends up working out nicely. The lefty Jack Thompson. A neat penetrating ball. Now it's through for Banjo. And just a little bit off sync, those two.
It's hard to knock that ball over Joe Greenspan. I don't think it's going to get there.
You beat me to the punch there. I was just about to say that the 6'5" frame of Greenspan obviously paying dividends, but
you didn't even have to jump too much.
No, not at all, no. Also played varsity basketball in high school, was an all-conference selection there. So Greenspan, a fantastic athlete. Obviously looking to do big things here in Pittsburgh during his time. The press release that came out said that he'd probably only be around for a month, but obviously have to wait and see whether that becomes true or not. But obviously a nice pickup for Dave Brandt, and he knew that Joe was going to be looking to get minutes, and when you used to coach a kid, it's obviously easier to be able to snatch him to your team rather than anywhere else.
Well, as a coach, that's nice to have a player that is familiar with your style of play, and as a player who's looking to get minutes, what better than to do it with your former coach where you're familiar with what he wants, and he probably helped mold you during your college career. So for both of them, it was a great fit.
Here's Banjo again. Banjo with the strike. Oh, and it's off the woodwork. right into the hands of Gorick. It would have been a daily double for Kay Banjo, but denied by the width of the woodwork. We'll take another look at it.
The composure in Banjo's play, just off his mark, just hits the far post. But he's so composed with two players in front of him, just calmly. He knows where he wants to push the ball. He was going for that far post, didn't quite get it there, but Banjo is just the composure that he is playing with. And his first professional start, I mean, hasn't even played that many minutes for Pittsburgh so far, but he is playing far more experience than he is.
Does have a coolness about him, doesn't he? As Ryan Howe causing some problems here on the near side. It's for Bierman.
It's time for your
Stoikov.
Power Pick of the Week. This week's image is of Columbus Crew SC Loney.
Kay Banjo with 2 shots early on. One has gone in the back of the net, and one has hit the post. So not a bad start for the 24-year-old. Stoikov. Looking for the big switch, finding Sharpie. His touch a little off the mark. And it's Herzog who comes to retrieve it. Banjo has a beat on the ball, but there's a great sliding challenge from Cochran, and it had to be as Banjo was lurking in the area and hoping for a second.
Cochran knew he had to get that ball. It took a great angle to get to it.
Here's Angulo trying to cut it back. Angulo with the shot! And it's just on the wrong side of the post. Greenspan was wrong-footed there. Great move from Angulo.
Angulo trying to make his mark at his former home field. Great cut inside, gets the ball on his left foot and crushes one just wide, but he cannot cut in there. As a defender, your attacker cannot cut inside on you because he will rip one. He didn't even have much space. Just cut it and took his first shot. So for Pittsburgh, that has to be tighter. If he tries to cut in, you need to be there to block it so he can't come inside.
Well, to Greenspan's defense, he did get a piece of the ball, and the deflection ended up working out nicely for Angulo, but nonetheless, the 2013 USL MVP showing you exactly why he won that honor. He is very dangerous in the area, and I'm sure he'll have more chances to come. Cut out nicely by Cochran. It's a scrum on the floor. And it's David who comes away with it, but still trying to fend off Kevin Kerr. Sharpie getting around the defender, but losing the ball in the process, and go all the way back for Jamal Jack, and Pittsburgh will maintain possession. For the moment, at least. Here's David. Big switch over to Howe. And the flag is up. Howe just a little bit out of bounds there.
It's interesting to see just how you can just see Pittsburgh's shape. They're all together. They go in their lines. They defend in their lines, and then they step forward. The ball was out wide for a throw in by Thompson. You can just see them all move, inching up, moving forward, and that's what makes them so difficult to break down, especially defensively, is because they have those clear lines that they're all working together. So if there's a space in between two players, in the next line, there's another player in that gap.
David trying to send it into an area for Valesky, but cut out nicely by Jack Thompson, who was originally more of an attacking player at his time with Dave Brand at Messiah College, but Brand obviously knowing that he is a versatile player and ended up finding a nice home at outside back.
It was interesting talking with Coach Brand about that earlier this week. It was kind of cool. I asked him his thoughts.
Banjo flicking it over the top for Herzog, but defended very nicely from Ryan Howe. Certainly has a handful to deal with as far as Corey Herzog, but continue, Morgan.
I was asking him his thoughts on Thompson because we can see he works hard. He gets forward up into the attack. He defends hard, and I asked him what kind of player is he, and he said, well, he used to be an attacking player, and he said at the start of the season he probably wouldn't have been in the starting 11, but he said he was just a player that worked his way onto the field, and they had to create a position. They moved players around to get him on the field because of his work ethic, because of what he would bring. He just said he's creative. He's smart when he plays. He has good vision. So that's the kind of player that is just so impressive. The coach cannot ignore him. Originally, might have not been in that outside back position, but he made it so Coach Brandt didn't have an option but to put him on that field.
There's Banjo picking it up. Gets around two defenders. Still with it, trying to find Herzog, and Herzog not exactly pleased with the ball. He's asking for it at his feet. Banjo trying to play him into an area. But another opportunity for Pittsburgh off a turnover, and they continue to create those opportunities.
And I've talked about their defense and in their lines and how they're good, but one of the reasons they're so dangerous is because of this defense you see with their lines that cannot break down, but when it's a transition, they push forward and they go fast. So they work together defensively, and then they quickly work together on the other end attacking.
Well, they're almost just asking St. Louis to make a decision. They're forcing them to think, and at the moment, St. Louis are not making the best decisions.
Well, because the way they're playing, they have their lines. If a St. Louis defender gets the ball, he has a little bit of time to see, but what he sees is that there's not many options of where to pass it.
Sees the Pittsburgh wall in front of him.
Exactly. He sees all of the yellow. So they're given time, but time to have to decision make because their normal choices aren't open.
David finding Bjurman in space. Bjurman trying to find Angulo, the two not on the same page. And maybe an opportunity for Pittsburgh to counter. It's Herzog. Big sweeping ball over towards Banjo, already sitting on a goal on the evening. Working on Ledbetter. Tries to go back for Abuchi, but it's cut out by Cochran. And now here's Guzman. Finding Angulo. Angulo chipping it forward for Valesky. Muscled off for a moment by Jack. The chip in. Nobody home.
Jamal Jack doing a great job of just standing his ground. He's a big body. He used it just to kind of bump Valesky off the ball there and make that more difficult for him.
Well, Jamal Jack may not stand at 6'5", but he certainly is built like he could probably play in the professional football league. Looks more like a linebacker than a soccer player. As here's a nice move from Kerr along the byline, sending it across. And it needed to be a good challenge from Tyler David. Throwing deep in St. Louis territory, though, for Pittsburgh, as it'll be Jack Thompson to take. Thompson surveying. Kerr flicking it on. Stoikov helping it along. It'll be at Pittsburgh again, as St. Louis have trouble dealing with the restart. Angulo, nice touch for Bjurman. Short of numbers, though. And Pittsburgh quickly collapse on him. Shifty move from Hollingsworth. For Kerr. Here's Abuchi Obinwa. And you can see what St. Louis is trying to do from time to time. Pittsburgh obviously committing a lot of players forward in their pressing abilities. So St. Louis is thinking if we can get past that first line, we'll have an opportunity to go the other way. But they seem to be rushing it a little bit.
And that's just because they see it and they're trying to get it there. Because if they wait longer, this Pittsburgh team will just shift. So the pass won't be open anymore. So they're trying to look fast to get it there so they can then move the rest of their bodies up the field.
Bjurman just out of the reach of Herzog. Here's Sharpie. Thought about the service, now going to whip it in. It's towards the back post, nobody home though, and it'll be Jack Thompson to collect. Seen that a couple times from St. Louis this far. No runner on the back post as Obinwa looking for an option. Finding Soto. Bjurman. Valesky trying to lay it off, but again, Pittsburgh continue to surround the ball with at least one or two players, making life difficult for whoever is on top of the ball.
It's time for the double tree by Hilton.
Stoikov muscling Obinwa off the ball, finding Angulo. Guzman has Sharpie overlapping. Sharpie with the ball into the middle. Angulo turns, fires, and scores! Jose Angulo against his former club, scoring the equalizer, the 2013 MVP, devastating his former team. We are all tied up at 1 here at Highmark.
Angulo made that look so simple. He made the first turn. Look at all the bodies around him. 1, 2, 3, 4 Pittsburgh defenders around him, and he's able to still push that into the corner. That is a difficult shot to make, especially with all those bodies around him.
Well, it seemed like St. Louis had nothing going until Jose Angulo found the ball in the box. And like you said, Morgan, that turn and finish is incredibly difficult. There wasn't a ton of pace on the shot, but placed to perfection.
When we talked about it earlier, with Banjo's goal, sometimes it's just pushing it into the corner. It's not always the shot. Sometimes it's just the finesse. And that is exactly what that was. Angulo was able to get the quick turn and just pushed it into the corner. But early on in that build-up, Pittsburgh did a great job. They didn't let him turn on the original entry pass. They forced him to play back, but then the build-up happened, playing the ball wide, springing it back in, and then his quick turn and just composure once again in the finish. But Angulo, you know, he's been able to score a bunch of goals at Highmark Stadium in the past, just showed again why he is one of the best.
Jose Angulo obviously not showing a ton of emotion, has plenty of respect for this club who really gave him a lot. Saw his career take off here and showing some respect for the black and yellow, but disrespecting on the scoreline. Here's Stoikov trying to get on the right side of Sulto. Thompson through for Banjo, and it'll be Gorick who scoops it up. Okay, Banjo got things started in the 6th minute. And more recently, it was Jose Angulo tying things up, getting the equalizer off a turnaround shot just from about 7 or 8 yards away in the 30th minute. But fantastic game of football, and it really seemed like St. Louis had all sorts of trouble figuring things out, but I guess what they needed was a lucky bounce, and that's sort of what happened on the turn for Angulo. It was well defended originally, but it just seemed to fall apart just in the wrong way for Pittsburgh defensively.
Well, and just the ball that was slotted across, no Riverhounds defenders were able to step to it. But as I said, that's not an easy finish. Angulo had 4 defenders around him and was able to turn. And then once he turned, still had the decency to quickly just get a shot off. That's not easy at all. So props to him. I mean, Pittsburgh did a great job, as you said, originally defending it. They needed a step to the cross that came in, but that was something special on the other end for that finish there for Angulo.
Cochran up for the header. Herzog doing nicely to keep it in. Valesky bringing it down. Bjerman. And this left-hand side has really been the side of choice for St. Louis. They may feel like they have some sort of mismatch, possibly understanding that Jack Thompson isn't exactly a wily veteran when it comes to outside back, or possibly just that's where the ball has ended up.
Well, and also that might be some of their personnel, because Ryan Howe has started a lot of their attacking, gotten forward, whether it's overlapping, whether it's on the dribble and playing balls through. Their left back, Ryan Howe, has been a big part of this attack. So it could be taking advantage of the fact that Jack Thompson likes to attack on his end, so then they can defend you when you go forward. But I think it has to do with their personnel as well.
Banjo just a little bit too quick trying to find Herzog on the other end, but it's given away by Gorick. Kerr thought about going for glory, but thinks better of it. Maybe trying to do his best Carly Lloyd impression there. Here's Soto. Finding Herzog, but smothered quickly. And a great challenge from Cochran. And it's a neat little ball for Valesky. He's got 2 to beat. As him and Jamal Jack get tangled up. Valesky's still somehow with the ball at his feet, going for the curler, but the ball always curling wide of the post. Good effort from Valesky.
Well, and a good job by him, because he stayed in that tackle and still won it. Jamal Jack comes streaking back defensively and gets down, goes for the ball. A good tackle, but Valesky just stays on his feet, stays with the ball. That's not easy to get down and back up off the ground. And then he has time to take a peek up, looks to swing it around, doesn't get completely around the ball, which is why it goes wide, but that's individual effort there by Vleski. That's what that is. He worked hard individually and got a good look on frame, but he has the idea. He's trying to attack. Nothing's come from it, but he's had a couple chances early.
Greenspan finding Washington.
We talked so much about Pittsburgh's shape and lines earlier. Look at St. Louis now. They're doing the similar thing. They're defending more together, I would say, than they did earlier. Earlier was a little more spread out, but now they're more compact, so it's more difficult to break them down as well, just like Pittsburgh was earlier.
Ball through, deflected, and we're all the way back to Gorick. Gorick, a 29-year-old out of Moundsville, West Virginia, in his first season with St. Louis, came from Colorado Springs. Was a 2016 Goalkeeper of the Year nominee. Actually was part of the Bayer Leverkusen Academy, part of the Bundesliga over in Germany, top division soccer in Germany. As a 12-year-old, ended up attending Barry University, called up to the U.S. men's national team prior to the 2010 World Cup, got to train alongside Tim Howard and Brad Guzan. Two decent keepers to train alongside, no?
Not bad.
Not bad at all. David bringing it down and finding Howe. St. Louis definitely settling into more of a rhythm after the Angulo goal. Off to a rocky start after gifting Kay Banjo a goal in the 6th minute. David thought about it. Now for Sharpie. Sharpie's still with it, trying to get around Washington. He's back for David. Stoikov. For Sharpie again. Sharpie electing for the service. Greenspan pops it up. Benoit attempting to use Broom. And this has sort of been a flip script in the first 15 minutes, now getting into the second 15 minutes and a little beyond that. It was Pittsburgh who was all over St. Louis in the first 15 minutes, and then St. Louis, after getting that goal, a big break for them, they seem to be on the front foot now.
Well, and oftentimes you see early in games, one team presses and then just kind of settles in. As you said, we kind of had Pittsburgh pressing really hard, then we had St. Louis, and I think the game is finally settling in now. Both teams are just playing more of their style. They're not, either one has to push super, super hard for that goal because it is equal now. But I think that's just what we're seeing, is the game has just finally settled in.
Guzman unable to hang on to that, as Washington trying his best to keep it in bounds, but it'll be a St. Louis throw-in. 38th minute. And you can see there, look at the possession quickly. It'll obviously fluctuate a little bit as we head into halftime, but surprised by that stat?
A little. I would think that Pittsburgh would have a little more possession, especially how they started earlier. But I do agree that St. Louis has had the ball more, but I think Pittsburgh has caused more turnovers. So they may have had the ball, but I think they weren't able to connect as many passes, so I wouldn't think their possession would be so high. But these last couple of minutes, they really have had the ball a lot, so I think it probably evened out more recently.
Cochran looping it in the direction of Angulo. Angulo with a nice little fake. Trying to chip it through for Vleski, but it's a long way up to try to get it over Joe Greenspan. A Benoit, maybe one too many, and it falls to Howe. Kerr with a teasing ball.
That ball didn't come across, but just the awareness of Kevin Kerr. I don't know if you saw his first touch. He took it away from the defender. He felt a defender on his back and took his first touch across his body to give him the space to go into, to be able to play that ball. He saw Corey Herzog open on the back post. It didn't end up working out. But just his awareness is impressive, and you see why he's a leader and why he's a captain, because he's out wide. He's been central. He's played up top. He can kind of go anywhere, and he just plays with just great awareness no matter where he is on the field.
And you'll know that even if that ball doesn't get there, and it won't most times, but just the concept of playing it will make the center back think about it and know that that's something that they do have to be aware of, because you see that Kerr can get it over that last defender. It's just a matter of getting that weight right so it doesn't get all the way to Gore.
Well, and you know that Herzog can be extremely dangerous. You know Kerr can play it, and you know Herzog can be super dangerous if it gets to him. So exactly. So the percentage is probably pretty low, but the fact that Kerr is confident he can hit it, and this team is confident that Herzog can be extremely dangerous if it gets to him. So absolutely, it makes the center back just take another thought about where is Herzog, where is this ball going to land? Is it an option if Kerr gets it at his feet that he's going to hit this long one? But so yeah, it makes the center back think a little more, when normally if Kerr doesn't hit that original ball, he doesn't even think that will happen. It also makes the goalkeeper think a little, because he had to come off his line, so that's communication that has to happen between the center back and the goalkeeper.
Kerr trying to find Abinwa. Ends up working out as he got all the way to Herzog, but Abinwa able to hang on to it. Thompson finding Kerr with a neat little turn. Kerr trying to get it around the defender. It is going to be a foul on Howe. And we're going to have a dangerous set piece opportunity for Pittsburgh, and it looks like we're going to have our first discipline of the match, as it'll be Ryan Howe getting the yellow card. And Morgan, I can see the expression on your face. Not exactly what you thought was going to come in that foul?
No, definitely a foul, not a yellow card. I think Kerr knew he wasn't going to win that foot race, especially where he was. So that was, as we said, his awareness, a great decision to touch it around and try to get around the other side, but most likely knowing he's going to be pulled down and win the foul. But that's not a card in my mind.
Kerr with a nice whipped ball in. And it was Ledbetter who got there first. Banjo with another shot on goal. All three of his shots. Or rather, that was Abinwa who had the shot. And we'll take another look at the yellow card, or the controversial yellow card in the mind of my broadcast partner.
Hey, it was a yellow. It's a yellow in the books. That's all that matters, right?
That's right. And Gulo. And Guzman. He hasn't been all that involved just yet. Previously played for Preki at Sacramento, where they won the 2014 USL Championship. Angulo in space. Turning. The shot deflected in front, and it's Broom who's going to judge the bounce, and judges it nicely. As we are officially in the 43rd minute of play here at Highmark. 2 goals split evenly between the two teams. K Banjo got things started in the 6th minute of play, and then in the 30th, it was Jose Angulo. Certainly against the run of play, as Pittsburgh were on the front foot for almost those entire first 30 minutes, obviously following the goal as well. And shot in the arm that St. Louis needed. Things have certainly settled down. St. Louis right now dominating possession. Yeah, we're getting word now from the 4th official that we're going to have 2 minutes of stoppage time added on. Kerr finding space for Jack Thompson. Former Division III All-American trying to find Herzog. And Herzog hasn't exactly had his best game this first 45 minutes, Morgan. There's been a couple of times where he's had a poor reaction to a couple balls played towards his area.
Yeah, that was a really good slip ball in. A good run, though. I just don't think the timing was right. That's what seems to be off. He has the right ideas, just the timing isn't what it needs to be and what it has been in the past couple games.
Kerr and Herzog trying for a give and go, but broken up by Stoikov. Sporting the armband today for Preki. Here's the youngster Sulto. Herzog trying to find Hollingsworth, but it's broken up by Ledbetter. St. Louis on the other end, maybe trying to get a goal right before the half. Bierman. Banjo doing a nice job closing down the opposition, fulfilling his defensive responsibilities in addition to being a presence on the offensive end.
2 minutes stoppage time at the end of the first half. A minimum of 2 minutes stoppage time at the end of the first
David. Over Guzman, now out for Stoikov.
Patience is much better with St. Louis now. We saw earlier they were kind of forcing early.
As Guzman's shot going a little bit high.
That wasn't exactly the patience. I think the better option there is to push it wide. He had a player getting forward, but they've been allowing themselves just to possess and take their time and choose their moments to get forward. They've shown that they can now break down this Pittsburgh defense. The pressure from Pittsburgh isn't as high, so they're able to get on the ball more. So they're able to have time because they don't have that super high pressure in front of them. But on the other end of that, a smart decision in that last one would just be to push it wide because that shot, you're so far out and it's not a very good look.
Things have certainly settled down following the first 30 minutes. We had 2 goals in that opening half an hour. And in the last 15 minutes, it sort of died down. Obviously, we enter sort of that doldrums of a soccer game where things just start to break down a little bit. Obviously, having run for almost 45 minutes straight, as we're going to have handball on Victor Soto. That's natural in any game of football, is that things are just going to start to break down because that halftime, you know, obviously it's a chance to adjust, but it's a chance for players to take a deep breath. I mean, it really is. It's 2 45-minute games.
And that's what I was saying earlier, how the game just kind of settled in. It's more of the normal just run of play. It's not the high pressure. It's not the looking to score the goal really, really fast. It's just teams learning to just pass and play. And as you said, maybe some things kind of break down from their original game plan, but it's just the slowing down and just the actual playing of the game.
Well, that's going to do it for the first 45 minutes here at Highmark. 2 goals split evenly between the 2 teams. K. Banjo got things started, and then the former Pittsburgh man, Jose Angulo, terrorizing his former club, as Preki right now not exactly thrilled with the official at a call at the end of the half, but nonetheless, some of the fans here in Pittsburgh seeing some nice action in the beginning as Banjo got things started, and then it was Angulo getting the equalizer in the 30th. We'll be back with halftime stats, highlights, and oh so much more. Stay with us.
Through the years, you've done right by investing in your home. And now, you can use that equity to borrow money for the things you need. With a low 1.99% APR and no fees, you can apply for a home equity loan online and use the money to upgrade to that minivan, make home improvements, or finance college. At Clearview, we can help you find ways to use the equity in your home for more important things. Let us help. Visit us online for more information. Clearview Federal Credit Union, the next generation of personal banking.
Can you hear me? Yeah. How many times have you done it before? You good? Yeah. Okay. You got 50 seconds. You have to stay here for a little bit. Hold for that. Yeah?
Call 412 Doctors for an appointment with a sports medicine specialist at Allegheny Health Network.
Come celebrate the 5th anniversary of Highmark Stadium as the Hounds take on the Harrisburg City Islanders in the first leg of the 2017 Keystone Derby. Presented by K&L Gates and the Pennsylvania Lottery. Anniversary water bottles to the first 2,000 fans in attendance. $1 beers until kickoff. Door prizes and special $5 general admission tickets while supplies last. Visit riverhounds.com or call 412-865-GOAL.
Stay low, change of speed, explode, trust it. Very nice, very nice.
Call 412 Doctors for an appointment with an orthopedic specialist at Allegheny Health Network.
Welcome back to Pittsburgh here at halftime. Tyler Terrens alongside former Virginia Tech Hokie Morgan Conklin. And at the half, it is 1-1 as Kay Banjo got things started in the 6th minute. And then it was former Pittsburgh Riverhound and 2013 USL MVP Jose Angulo getting back at his former club, tying things up at 1 apiece. And Morgan, more or less what we expected from this match?
Yeah, I would say especially from Jose Angulo. He's been on a roll lately. Last game had a goal and an assist. Coming home to his former field where he's been extremely dominant for them, scored 15 goals in his time with Pittsburgh. So to see him get on the board, I'm not surprised by that. But I think the start of the half I was extremely impressed by Pittsburgh. Their pressure, their lines together defensively, the fact that they got an early goal was great for them. But on the other side of that, I think they slowed down throughout the rest of the half, and then St. Louis was able to get back in for the equalizer.
Well, we'll take a look at some of the halftime stats, and possession was 65-35 at around the 40th minute mark, staying more or less the same, and that's really what we expected from the St. Louis club, to dominate possession while Pittsburgh trying to turn them over in dangerous areas.
Yeah, but for St. Louis, I'd like to see more dangerous shots. Only 6 shots, 1 on target, which is their goal, so I'd like to see more of that. They've proven that they can hold the possession now. They prove that they can get numbers forward, but they need to take advantage of that, and it's time to put more on target because 1 just isn't enough for 6 shots.
Well, the 1 shot on goal proved to be enough as it trickled over the line and went in the goal. It was Jose Angulo, scored 15 goals for Pittsburgh when he used to play for the Riverhounds, and coming back to Highmark Stadium and obviously putting a dent in the Riverhounds game plan, who came out firing. Kay Banjo got things started. And we are going to be back with some more highlights and second half kickoff when we come back.
We've raised the stakes. Expectations are high. Our biggest season yet will break records with elite players and future stars, innovative technology, and new homes. We're growing the game in our communities and across the nation. Are you ready?
Last week at San Antonio FC, the USL Experience completed a 2nd year of unprecedented success. The USL Experience provides Super Y League players with a comprehensive look into the North American professional landscape, where they can experience life as a pro at a level never before visited.
We're really pleased to host the USL Experience here in San Antonio. The players get to experience what it's like to be a professional player. They've interacted well with our current players over lunch, and we're looking forward to watching them play. I know they've trained this morning and looking forward to the games this evening, and as a staff we're looking forward to watch them play.
The USLX event has given our players a great opportunity to participate and play against players from all across the nation, which serves as a great development opportunity for our kids. Obviously, Texas is a big state, but when you get the opportunity to play against kids from across the nation, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity right now at their age groups.
Rewind to the inaugural 2016 USL Experience hosted by FC Cincinnati. During halftime of the River Cities Cup versus Louisville City FC, USL Experience players walked out onto the field in front of a 20,000 capacity crowd at Nippert Stadium and were recognized as the future of the game. That's not happening anywhere else in the country. A year in the making, the USL Experience at San Antonio FC looked to build on the accomplishments of FC Cincinnati and achieved great success with a 2017 event unlike anything else currently available to youth players. During the event, these athletes experienced a full media day, including professional photo shoots, press conferences, and interviews conducted by USL Experience and San Antonio FC staff in stadium suites overlooking the beautiful Toyota field. The experience intensified as players stepped onto the pitch for the first time, flying through competitive training sessions conducted by invited Super Y coaches who continued to evaluate players throughout the event, College coaches and U.S. Soccer Federation scouts attended USL experience matches as the players challenged the San Antonio FC ETP and Rio Grande Valley Academy teams. In addition to their own match experience, players witnessed firsthand the professional matchday experience of San Antonio FC, which included access to a closed-door training session, lunch with the first team, and the opportunity to learn tactics from head coach Darren Powell in a strategy session before the season home opener. The 2017 USL experience culminated in spectacular fashion as players celebrated San Antonio FC's first home triumph of the season with a 3-0 victory over LA Galaxy 2. By providing an event such as this, the USL has become a leader through its commitment to youth development. The USL experience is breaking barriers by making professional soccer and the professional dream more accessible. For USL Network, I'm Morgan Conklin.
And we'll take a look at some of Pittsburgh's upcoming games, and there's obviously one that Pennsylvania soccer fans are going to have circled on their calendar. We'll get to that in just a second, but two very difficult games for the Riverhounds coming up on the road.
Yeah, and their next one against Charlotte Independence, it'll be their third game in 7 days. So going back on the road, but it'll be the end of a long, tough stretch for them.
And they get to break it up before they go to Ottawa. They obviously have those two home games, but the one that's going to be circled on everybody's calendar in the Keystone State is the Keystone Derby, Harrisburg City Islanders. And if it's anything like the 2015 matchup at Highmark Stadium, which ended up in a 6-5 win for Pittsburgh, it's going to be a fantastic football match, and now officially in the second division of American soccer, going to be a great matchup between these two franchises.
And I can tell you, both sides have probably had that one circled since they found out about the schedule. So yeah, absolutely going to be a great matchup and home for Pittsburgh.
Absolutely. Well, Pittsburgh's still trying to work through this contest as we have 45 minutes in the books, 45 minutes still to play, as we are going to be back with highlights and second half kickoff when we come back. Don't go anywhere.
Through the years, you've done right by investing in your home. And now, you can use that equity to borrow money for the things you need. With a low 1.99% APR and no fees, you can apply for a home equity loan online and use the money to upgrade to that minivan, make home improvements, or finance college. At Clearview, we can help you find ways to use the equity in your home for more important things. Let us help. Visit us online for more information. Clearview Federal Credit Union, the next generation of personal banking.
Can you hear me? Yeah. How many times have you done it before? You good? Yeah. Okay. You got 50 seconds. Yep, just stay here for a little bit. Hold for that. Yeah.
Call 412 Doctors for an appointment with a sports medicine specialist at Allegheny Health Network.
Come celebrate the 5th anniversary of Highmark Stadium as the Hounds take on the Harrisburg City Islanders in the first leg of the 2017 Keystone Derby. Presented by K&L Gates and the Pennsylvania Lottery. Anniversary water bottles to the first 2,000 fans in attendance. $1 beers until kickoff. Door prizes and special $5 general admission tickets while supplies last. Visit riverhounds.com or call 412-865-GOAL.
Stay low, change of speed, explode, trust it. Very nice, very nice.
Call 412 Doctors for an appointment with an orthopedic specialist at Allegheny Health Network.
Welcome back to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Obviously some playoff hockey going on, but just got some good football going on too. Pittsburgh and St. Louis tied at 1. Just down the street, Pittsburgh Penguins taking on the Columbus Blue Jackets in the first round of the Eastern Conference playoffs. Tyler Terrence joined alongside by Morgan Conklin. And through the first 45 minutes, we have 2 goals split evenly between the two teams. And things got off to a quick start, Morgan.
Yeah, Pittsburgh came out of the gates, high pressure. That's what worked for them. They forced a very bad turnover right to where they were. They were in their spot, right where they needed to be. Kay Banjo, composure, was so calm on the ball and just pushed it where he needed. But that giveaway just cannot happen if you're St. Louis. But props to K Banjo on the other end. It was simple the way it came to him, but the fact that he was just calm on that ball and just slotted it where it needed to go.
Well, Ryan Howe was certainly lurking in the area, but for a while it looked like St. Louis really didn't have their act together, but somehow they were able to find a way.
When they started to press as the game went on, Valesky had a good look early on. The cross there by Howe, who kept getting into the attack. He gave them a lot of good opportunities, but Banjo once again had a good look. Not the hardest shot, but placement once again. He went for that far post, ended up hitting the post, so it didn't work out for him, but he has just been extremely impressive. He is so calm on the ball, and he just has a vision and knows where he wants to go with it.
Well, Banjo getting his first professional start, and Jose Angulo, former club, started to make things happen a little bit, and that shot went wide, but he was certainly dangerous throughout the first 45 minutes.
Yeah, he's just able to cut inside. As Pittsburgh, you cannot let him come inside, but he gets it on his left foot, gets a good look on frame, but that's kind of what started getting him going and building his confidence out here tonight, which ended up with him getting a goal later, but Pittsburgh cannot let him come inside because he just showed what can happen if you let him cut in.
Absolutely, and then eventually it would be Angulo who would get on the tally for St. Louis.
And the turn, he takes the touch back, gets his hips around, and is able to push it to the corner. Shows why he scored 15 goals for Pittsburgh a couple years ago. So dangerous, you cannot let him turn like that, but just the touch back to get his hips around is what allowed him to push it to the corner.
Jose Angulo torturing his own side. Ties it up at 1-1, getting the equalizer for Preki, and it was certainly against the run of play, but St. Louis started to settle in, and now the players coming out of the halftime locker room. And if you're David Brandt, what might you be saying to the Riverhounds at halftime?
Well, the high pressure needs to come back, at least for the start of this half, because that's what gave them success early. Or at least that's what caused St. Louis to not play their game. We saw at the end, St. Louis had most of the possession, but early on in the game they didn't. So Pittsburgh needs a strong start once again. And they know that St. Louis can have strong starts. They've scored goals early on in the first half, so they can start strong. So Pittsburgh needs to come out first with that high pressure.
Well, there you see Dave Brand. He was actually just offering a bit of tutelage to his former collegiate star, Joseph Greenspan, sporting number 29 tonight for Pittsburgh, being loaned from Minnesota United. Not obviously keeping the clean sheet, but have you seen good things from Greenspan thus far?
Yeah, he's using his size. There's been a couple times St. Louis looks to chip balls over him, and that just doesn't happen when he's out on that field. Uses his size well. As you said earlier, Angulo was able to cut inside. Greenspan has the long legs, too, was able to get a touch on it, which didn't give Angulo a clear shot on frame, but he's doing a good job so far. Just very solid in the back for that back line. As I said, using his size well.
Well, it's certainly difficult for any player to just step in and obviously you have to start, but especially at the center back position that require, I mean, you played defense, you know, the back line needs so much chemistry. They need time on the field. That's why the back four usually stays the same throughout the course of a football match, but Greenspan seems to be meshing well. And on the other side for St. Louis, they obviously got off to a really rocky start. I'm sure Preki was just waiting for halftime so he could ream them out, but they started to settle in towards the end of the first 45 minutes.
They did. They started to play their way in that, and they were able to possess and just calm down and break the lines of pressure because Pittsburgh wasn't pushing as high. So the key for St. Louis is just to connect your passes and build up the field that way, because they tried a couple long balls earlier and that wasn't working. So they need to just settle in and connect passes to build rather than going direct.
Well, no team making a change at the half, going to go the way that they left the first 45 minutes, as both teams are going to do a bit of pre-second half rituals. Last words before they disperse to their respective positions on the field, as K Banjo and Jose Angulo are scorers at the moment, and both teams are coming off late dramatic wins. Have you seen anything that offers maybe that fatigue is going to become a factor down the stretch?
Not so far. I think obviously it's a quicker turnaround compared to a Saturday game. Obviously Saturday to Wednesday is quicker. But so far, I mean, both teams seem to be doing fine with the quick turnaround. I think for St. Louis, if they pass the ball, it'll help them more, because when they play direct, they're shooting their forwards forward and they're getting their outside backs high and going quickly, so that's obviously more running. So if they try to do that for most of the game, that'll lead to fatigue. So I think St. Louis will be fine if they just pass, because that's when they're better. They hold most of the possession anyway. And then for Pittsburgh, they need to press higher, but in order to save their legs that way, they just need to do it together as a team. So it's not just the forwards pressing and the midfielders are back, because then the energy's wasted. If they're all on the same page, then they'll be fine too.
Well, we are just about to get underway here in the second half, as there you see K Banjo and the referee Luke Feathers. Banjo, again, getting his pro debut, or pro start, I should say. And starting it off with a bang, got the goal in the 6th minute, and then it was Jose Angulo who equalized in the 30th. And we're going to play another 45 minutes and see if we can find a winner. All-time series between these teams, nobody has claimed all 3 points. Will that change tonight? We'll have the answer in just a little bit over 45 minutes for you.
Number 13, Matt Sheldon, and for number 23, Ryan Howe.
And we do have a substitution. It's number 13, Matt Sheldon, who checks in for Ryan Howe at the left back position. So Brecky deciding to make a change. And Morgan, anything surprising? I thought that Howe looked relatively decent on the outside.
Yeah, I am surprised by that because he was giving the St. Louis team most of their attack from the left side with his service.
Well, Herzog got taken down. He's still on the ground. Referee Lucas Feathers saying play on, but Herzog may have gotten tripped up in the box. We'll take another look at it in just a few moments when we get a second, but Herzog really not exactly okay after the play. And seeing anything in that, Morgan?
Well, I think Herzog's first touch put him in a great position to split those defenders. I couldn't completely see what happened on the ball from that angle, but you hope he's okay. He's a huge part of this Pittsburgh attack, and that's what makes him so good is his first touch like he just took, which splits the defenders.
Herzog trying to walk it off. He certainly is a warrior. It's going to be a lot to take him out of this game as he loves to be on the field for all 90-plus minutes. It'll be a corner for Pittsburgh. It's a good ball in. There's the header and a fantastic reaction save from Davala Goric. He made the mistake that led to the Banjo goal, but he just saved one there.
Jamal Jack just coming in for that header. Just the pace on the ball, but with the way Jamal Jack ran towards that ball, just the pace that was on his header forced Goric to make a good save, but that's a great reaction save because that ball is coming so fast.
Pittsburgh will have another opportunity here. They're going to try to pick out number 29 in the middle of your screen, Joe Greenspan. Standing at about 6'5", certainly capable of an aerial strike. And it's Goric off his line again, and after a rocky start, he's seemed to grown into the game. He's certainly a veteran as far as this league is concerned, one of the top goalkeepers in the USL 2016 Goalkeeper of the Year nominee. And we'll take a look at that header, Morgan.
Jack he had 2 defenders on him and he split them to get to that ball first. That's just effort. That comes down to Jack. Jamal Jack wanted that ball. He wanted to win that header. But on the second corner that came in, Goric did a great job of coming off his line, but his center backs made that easy for him. They made almost a circle around him to come up and win the ball. Almost like in basketball, you have that big circle around the net where you can't block it in there. He had that space where nobody could get in there because his defenders blocked that off for him.
Silto. In the feet of Kerr. Going out wide for Washington. The flag is up on the far side, and it'll be offsides as Washington, a bit of an eager beaver, trying to get in on the action. Just a few minutes into the second half here at Highmark. Thanks for joining us. Tyler Terrence, Morgan Conklin. And if you're just joining us, it was Kay Banjo who got things started in the 6th minute. Equalizer coming from former Pittsburgh Riverhound Jose Angulo, and that is where we stand at the moment. Jamal Jack with the best chance of the second half thus far after that corner. Pittsburgh looking to keep the momentum rolling after the dramatic winner against Charleston. Corey Herzog providing the stoppage time game winner.
You can see Herzog frustrated with that call. He didn't get the one in the box, so he doesn't see why that one was called on Kerr. He's just frustrated. You can see he's letting the ref have it, just telling him he didn't agree with that call whatsoever.
Herzog has certainly had a bit of a rough night, not exactly in the rhythm that we're used to seeing him in. We've already called one of his games and obviously been following him throughout the course of the season. He and Kerr are usually more or less on the same page, but obviously when you throw Banjo into the starting lineup, albeit it's been a positive him scoring a goal, but still something to get used to in the final third.
Well, and because Kerr usually plays a little under, if not floats around Corey, and that just hasn't been the case today because Kerr's found his way more out wide with Banjo up top.
Sheldon Guzman trying for the neat little turner, possibly trying to play Valesky in, but Valesky not on the same wavelength as Guzman, and it'll be Broom to punt it away. Banjo dispossessed. Hollingsworth steals it right back. Herzog gets some space. Finding the feet of Banjo, trying to split two defenders, gets taken down. Nothing in it though, as there have been a couple of bodies that hit the floor for Pittsburgh when they've been on the ball in the area, but nothing's come of it. Big switch trying to find Thompson, but it's Sharpie who ends up bringing it down. Bjerman looking for Angulo. He's going to get there, but he was offsides beforehand. Substitute Sheldon. And Guzman. Play from Abinwa. And footwork from Hollingsworth. Now it's Soto in space. Trying to find Herzog, and that's about the third or fourth time that we've seen Herzog demanding the ball at his feet, but his teammates continuing to think that he's trying to run into space.
That's just a complete miscommunication right there. Herzog is stopped, waiting for it, showing feet, and that ball from Soto was even hit pretty long, so it would have been tough to get to anyway. But yeah, there's just miscommunication. These players aren't on the same page. I'm not sure if it's because Banjo's up top and it kind of changes how Herzog plays without Kerr underneath him, but there's just miscommunications between Herzog and his players underneath him and around him.
Looks like Herzog is feathered out a little bit to this near side wing. And Herzog usually used to being the main man up front and being alone up front for that matter. Obviously with Kerr sitting in behind him, so maybe a little bit of an adjustment period. Bit of a miscue there from Abinwa. Angulo trying to get out of trouble, but it's Hollingsworth who comes away with it. Angulo hot on his trail. Nice stop from Hollingsworth. Finding Herzog. Nutmegs one defender. Back for Herzog. And the return pass from Banjo. Maybe just a little bit too much, but that was some great 1-2 touch football in a very tight area.
Herzog makes everything look so easy when the ball's at his feet. He almost dances on the ball, just the nutmeg right in between his defender's legs. But he made it look like anybody could do that when I definitely could not. I don't think most people could. He makes everything just look so simple.
Banjo trying to fend off Conkrin, but a tall task at that. Somehow ends up with the ball. Banjo going for goal. And always going over goal. Kevin Kerr shouting to the heavens as to why that ball wasn't served in the box, but Banjo oozing with confidence. That's really the first miscue that we've seen from him all night.
But that just goes into the rest of the team's attacking miscues, because that's not the best option right there. It's to find your teammates. When you have two guys, especially Corey Herzog, Kevin Kerr, who can be dangerous when the ball's near them around the box. So that just continues to go with this Pittsburgh team not all on the same page when it comes to attacking.
Bit of a heavy touch there from Kerr. Soto finding Herzog. Squirts out to Bjerman. Angulo trying to find Valesky. Broom off his line. A little bit of a jump catch there and distributes quickly. There's Jack Thompson. Herzog and Hollingsworth. wide for Washington. Washington trying to get the service off, and the Pittsburgh fans recognizing some good possession football when they see it. Blowing the Riverhounds. It's Herzog bringing it down, flicks it over Stoikov. Trying to get to the byline and keep it in bounds, but it did go over the line. But Herzog just so tricky in tight areas. I mean, we saw in that goal at the beginning of the season against New York Red Bull too. I mean, that looked eerily similar as far as the flick over the defender.
Well, as I said, he just dances on the ball, and he's tricky, and it's difficult to defend because you don't know what he's going to do when he faces you up and has the ball at his feet. So as a defender, your goal is to not let Corey Herzog face you up with the ball at his feet. You need to keep his back to goal, force him to play back, because once he goes forward, it's tough because he could do anything, and he can make it look so simple.
Take a look at some of the previous games from last night, OKC in Sacramento. And it was the wonder goal that ended up being a SportsCenter #1 in the top 10, Miguel Gonzalez. I mean, I know you were absolutely speechless when you saw that goal, but
I was.
there were so many things that went into it, though. It just seemed like an innocent play, obviously, with the Harris throw-in from about 35 yards away. And the fact of how much time Gonzalez had on the ball, I know we were talking about that earlier.
Well, and that's what made it just interesting to watch, because that Sacramento defense didn't step to Gonzalez, and you could see him looking up into the sky, just waiting for the ball to come down. And watching the replay over and over, it almost seems like you're just waiting forever, and no defender ever stepped to him. But that is not to take any credit away from the fantastic finish. I mean, that bicycle kick, I mean, come on.
Very few people who can execute at that level.
Exactly,
Yep.
But at the same time, he did have a lot of space, but I mean, it was still top class. They get me every time. I mean, honest, you don't see him that often, but every time I do, I'm always stunned. I mean, I'm just the acrobatic play that's involved to make it happen, how you get on top of the ball, the timing, it always blows my mind. So, yeah, I mean, I'm still kind of speechless, let's be real.
Well, it's certainly eye candy for somebody who doesn't really follow soccer all that much, and that's why maybe SportsCenter was so quick to jump at it, just because it's the sheer athleticism. It's the concept of jumping that high in the air and sort of twisting and turning your body, and somehow he comes out of it alive, I guess, is the more surprising part. But obviously the finish was fantastic, and Sacramento getting tripped up by an Oklahoma City team that was their first 3 points of the season.
Well, and Oklahoma City really needed a win. As you said, they hadn't won a game until last night. So what better way for them to a 1-0 win? That's the winning goal at home against a team that hadn't lost. Going back to
hadn't dropped a point yet.
Going back to last July. I mean, what better way for them to get in the win column? And they have 2 byes in a row, so they're off for 2 weeks. So that is just a great way for them to start on a positive note and have really good training sessions, because their last game was incredible for them.
Meanwhile, here's Valesky trying to get around Greenspan, but the loanee from Minnesota United doing a good job defensively. As Christian Valesky still trying to get going here. Scored a wonder goal against the Ottawa Fury. St. Louis's second game of this season. Fantastic first touch around the defender, and then the finish was even better. And still waiting for him to really put his stamp on this one. Tyler David up for the header. And now here is the aforementioned Valesky for Guzman. Out wide for the substitute, Sheldon. Sheldon trying to get around Washington as well as Hollingsworth. Pittsburgh able to win the throw-in. Bierman trying to flick it on. Greenspan in the neighborhood. Brought down by Guzman. Stoikov. Sheldon again. This is the patience that we've been seeing from St. Louis. They really do work it around. If it's not there, extremely patient. At times it can be at a fault. Greenspan. Jack Thompson, who's just going to thump it long, sensing danger. Benoit up for the header, as well as Valesky, but Valesky able to draw the foul. "15 minutes into the second half, still tied at 1. Okay, Banjo in the 6th minute, as well as Jose Angula's equalizer, and there you see the foul from Benoit. St. Louis continuing to dominate that possession category. But like you said at halftime, Morgan, you would love to see them just be a bit more efficient in the final third.
Yeah, they've shown that their possession is fantastic all around the field, especially in the midfield. But I want to see a little more precision going forward with the balls that they play, their decision making, especially with Valesky up top and Angula, who's been incredible so far. So I'd like to see them just be more precise with their passes and just going forward with their vision and the choices that they decide to make. I mean, they show they can connect and pass, so do it higher up the field and get into the box and push numbers forward.
Player of the game will be announced near the end of tonight's match.
Benoit finding Jack Thompson out wide. Lefty working on Bjerman. Back over for Washington. Neat turn from Soto to get away from David. Finding the feet of Hollingsworth. Pittsburgh inching their way up the field. Herzog. Out for the back, Washington. The service is a good one towards the back post, but Kerr was just a tad too far away, able to keep it in bounds though. Banjo trying to let it run through, but Ledbetter well aware of what the striker was trying to do. Rufy Bjerman and Greenspan over in a hurry. Saw the whole play coming from a mile away. Roll all the way out of bounds for a goal kick. He's a Broom. Broom really hasn't been tested all that much. The only save opportunity that he had was the goal, and not many goalkeepers in the USL who are going to stop that. And it just goes back to your point of St. Louis just not being all that efficient in the final third, and Pittsburgh on the opposite side of the spectrum create chances, but just not all that many of them. And obviously, they're efficient going forward because they're trying to turn the team over in their own defensive third, which is going to create opportunities. But the flip side of it is that they don't see all that much of the ball.
Well, and don't take anything away from Pittsburgh's defense, and their back four have been playing so strong, especially their outside backs have been working hard to get high into the attack, but also dropping defensively.
Washington, a good service in. Banjo winding up for the volley. Ricochets off his shin guard. Now here's a Benoit from long range. And that was always going wide, but K. Banjo continuing to play with a boatload of confidence as he was trying to line that one up. Maybe just took his eye off it at the last minute.
Well, and I think what's key from that last build-up is that Pittsburgh can be so dangerous out of nothing. It's been some possession, and then all of a sudden you see an outside back at forward. A great ball played across. Banjo winding up, looking like he was about to crush that one. Unfortunately, just missed it, but they don't have to always have possession to make chances happen. They can make something happen out of not much, especially a player like Corey Herzog has scored in extra time at the end of games. So just because he hasn't gotten on the stat sheet yet doesn't mean anything for this Pittsburgh team.
Service denied by Washington, but it will be a throw-in for St. Louis. Valesky fending off Washington. Back for Sheldon. Looking sort of avenue. It's Tyler David, who was stripped by Solto. Banjo similarly dispossessed. Guzman. Nice little weighted ball in for Sheldon. And it's Greenspan denying the service any further. Greenspan urging his team to just get rid of it. Hollingsworth trying to, and now finally able to get the ball up the pitch. David. Broken up by Abinwa. Valesky. And he skips away from Sheldon, and the two forwards, Valesky and Herzog, who obviously two of the more featured players that we were talking about during the pregame show, as one of them has exactly been on top of their game. Is that maybe due to the style of play from either team, especially Valesky having to deal with that pesky back line of Pittsburgh?
Well, I just don't think either team has been able to connect. I'm not exactly sure what it is, because St. Louis has had the possession. I think this Pittsburgh back line has done a great job of disrupting. Whether it's crosses being played in, their position is good to be able to clear it, but Pittsburgh just isn't clicking. I'm not exactly sure what it is, because we've seen them earlier this season. We called their game, and they didn't win most of the possession in that Cincinnati game, but they still were able to have special moments. So at the same time, I'm not too worried for Pittsburgh, because they've shown that they can score and be special kind of in the run of play, but when they don't always have possession. So I'm not too surprised to see that, but I am surprised that Corey Herzog hasn't had as many opportunities as he normally does.
Possibly an opportunity here for St. Louis. Ball in for Valesky, the touch, and there's the finish. A superior ball and an even better finish from Christian Valesky. His third goal on this season, quieting the crowd here at Highmark. 2-1 for the visitors.
Christian Valesky, we just talked about. You said, what does it take? Sometimes just something special. Beautiful split ball played in Valesky, just beating his player to the ball first. Sharpie, a great ball. The pace on that ball allowed Valesky to sprint towards it and just beat his defender. All he had to do was tap it. A tough angle, but if he can get a touch on that, it finds its way to the back of the net. But the special play on that, Sharpie's ball was split defenders and had the pace to get to Valesky when he made his run.
Christian Valesky, we were just talking about how he wasn't getting involved as a play as much as we'd like to see him, and on cue, Valesky delivering what could be the game winner and now being taken off the pitch, as it is going to be Alvarez to replace Valesky, as perhaps Valesky took a peek over at who was going to come in and maybe thinking that he was going to be the one who was replaced and making the most of his final moments on the pitch tonight. So Valesky's day is done, but he may have the game winner for St. Louis, who continue to look like one of the best teams in the USL.
And just that ball from Sharpie, the way it set that up. Valesky's run, fantastic. He beat his defender to the mark where the ball was coming, but that ball played in by Sharpie, the pace it had on it, it was able to split the defenders, and it has to be played fast like that or else it won't get through.
Social media channels. Follow USL on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
We saw Jose Angulo down for a brief moment before as St. Louis players grabbing a quick rinse, and we're going to take another look at this goal. And this ball from Sharpie is just absolutely fantastic. And like you said, Morgan, the finish only needed to be a touch, but it's still a touch that needed to be there.
Exactly, it had to be the touch, and he also had to beat his defender to the ball. So don't take anything from the run from Valesky. That is difficult, to sprint to that ball and then to get the touch. It's hard, because as a defender, if you can just get in the way, it won't find its way into the back of the net. But Valesky's run was there, but the ball by Sharpie set all of that up, how it split the defenders, and just the vision from him to see the run coming and to be able to play that.
And there you see Wes Sharpie, the man who assisted on the Christian Valesky goal, standing by while Jose Angulo is being attended to. And both teams having already made one substitution. Preki could have to make another with Angulo, who seemed to be in quite a bit of pain, but we'll see if he can continue to go on. While Pittsburgh will search for an equalizer. And Pittsburgh came back in the game against Charleston. They went down early. And then it was Hollingsworth who scored and Herzog with the game winner. Do they have any more comeback magic left in them? Just 72 hours ago, that game. As Banjo quickly hunting that ball down, keeping it in St. Louis's territory.
Well, and that's a great win for Banjo. He didn't win the ball, but he got back there to get the pressure to keep the ball in the corner here for St. Louis, because Herzog was making a run around. Banjo didn't see him. You could see the frustration on Herzog's face. So Banjo made up for it by making that defensive play to keep the ball in the corner for St. Louis, because otherwise that's a long ball down to a direct long ball down to the corner.
Well, you just saw Angulo briefly, obviously going to continue. Greenspan on top of this set piece. Floated ball towards the back post. Cochran is there initially. Kerr trying to get around Stoikov. Denied by the Macedonian, and it'll be out of bounds for a St. Louis throw-in. And we did have a substitution while the Angulo injury was being tended to, and that was Green, who came on for Pittsburgh wearing number 8. Guzman. Nice turn from Green, who replaced Uchi Obinwa. Sulto. Shaping the ball out for Washington. It takes a big touch into space, but look at the pace from Sheldon, forcing the foul out of Washington. Washington claiming that he got the ball, but he certainly wrapped up the opposition. Great defending from Sheldon.
That first touch was a little too vertical. If he could cut it more inside towards the center, towards the goal, he would have had a better angle to get to, because as a defender, if you touch that straight, it's easy for him to bring his diagonal run across to stop that. But as I've said, this Pittsburgh these outside backs have been getting forward so much, and that creates a lot of their chances.
As you see Washington cramping up a bit, and his comrade Corey Herzog stretching him out a little bit, as game of football certainly can be taxing on the human body. Any professional player can run anywhere from about 7 to 9 miles in the course of a match. And fatigue certainly becoming an issue, and like we mentioned earlier in the broadcast, Morgan, quick turnaround. Obviously the body not exactly used to the full week that you're going to get off, and now coming around in Washington, who's playing 90 minutes every game, just body breaking down a little bit. Hopefully he can continue.
Well, and especially as he makes those runs, he's been doing them all night. So that's a lot of running. As an outside back, it's a lot to defend. But the way that he gets forward and has to defend, along with Jack Thompson, that's a lot to ask for. So he's been able to play 90 before. You expect 90 from him, but it becomes tougher as you have these games with not much downtime in between.
Taylor Washington, 23 years of age, from Somers, New York. First season with the Riverhounds, originally seen with Bethlehem Steel, who Sekou Kone was named USL Player of the Week for his effort against FC Cincinnati, and we had the pleasure of calling Sekou, and what a special, special talent for Brendan Burke, and a couple of very classy finishes for Kone, who easily could have folded up during that game. We saw him miss a penalty, stopped by Mitch Hildebrand, and ended up having a superb match, and one of the better people in the USL, and just the way he celebrates with the fans, with the team. I know he's one of your favorites.
Well, just the maturity that he has. Only played 30 minutes in their first game, didn't start, but he knew what the team needed, and he knew that was his role for the game. Next game is named captain, misses a PK, as you said, and then responds with scoring 2 goals. I mean, and as you said, celebrates with his team. It means something for him. It means something for the team, with the fans, and I just think that's special. I mean, I just think that shows maturity, that you believe in your coach, you believe in what the team needs, and you put the team first, and I just think that usually pays off in the end.
Washington keeping in bounds momentarily. Hollingsworth switching it over to Jack. Penetrating ball in for Kerr, sprayed out wide for Thompson. Ball doesn't get past the first defender, who is Cochran, waiting for it. As it was Alvarez trying to get around the defender, drawing the free kick. 75 minutes in, 2-1 St. Louis lead after the Christian Valesky goal from Wes Sharpie. St. Louis looking for 3 out of 4 wins in their first 4 matches, only dropping points to Louisville in the first match of the season, 0-0 draw, and have gone on an absolute tear ever since. And we always knew this is going to be a hotly contested matchup, with Pittsburgh coming off that dramatic win against Charleston and St. Louis riding the momentum after their dramatic winner over New York Red Bulls 2, the reigning USL champs. And this game certainly has not disappointed. It's been dull at times, but that's just because of the two styles sort of contrasting, with Pittsburgh, you know, absorbing a little bit more pressure and St. Louis being extremely patient. But as far as the drama that could be leading up to it, it's been a fantastic match.
When we knew that there were strong forwards in this game, also strong center backs, and that was going to be key matchups across the field, but the midfield has kind of really evolved over this game. And also, I'm going to call Taylor Washington, Jack Thompson part of that midfield, because they get forward and they get into the attack for Pittsburgh. So I think that middle area has been fun to watch tonight, because we knew what to expect from both ends, but just the play in the middle has been impressive.
Corner opportunity for St. Louis. It's Guzman on top of it, possibly looking for an insurance goal. Guzman. It's a nice ball in. Jack is there first, but only as far as Stoikov. Stoikov sends it back towards the net, but always going over the crossbar, and a little bit tough to tell whether or not that was a shot or maybe just trying to loft it through for somebody to run onto.
Riverhounds substitution. Number 9,
and it is going to be Charles Walsh coming in and replacing Corey Herzog. So Siobhan Walsh getting 13 minutes or so to run around, try to get an equalizer. And Corey Herzog's day is done, and probably not one of the best games we'll see from Herzog, probably one of his worst all season, but still looked dangerous at times.
When it's hard to call that his worst, but you can do that because he scored in every other game. So worst is an interesting word to use, but I guess it is applicable in this.
It's all relative for Corey Herzog.
But he's played 90 minutes all of the other games, so he's had more time to score as well. So bringing him out is an interesting choice, but giving Walsh an opportunity to get in there and make something happen. But yeah, I think Herzog just wasn't clicking tonight, whether it's with his teammates, whether the runs, the timing just wasn't there tonight. But he was still dangerous, and these center backs had to know where he was at all times. He made runs, and he proved that he is dangerous.
Well, they decide to leave the rookie Banjo in, already sitting on a goal. Perhaps they think that he has enough confidence to go and get the equalizer as well as his second of the night, but we'll have to wait and see for that. Thompson and Green playing a little give and go. Thompson with some space to run into, as Walsh is dispossessed by Cochran. A nice step there. Angulo met by a large Joe Greenspan. Neat touch from Banjo. Walsh thought about it, still with it. Walsh going for goal, but deflected by Stoikov. Very good defending from St. Louis, who were not fooled by all the fakes and flaunts from Kevon Walsh. Greenspan up for the header. And it'll be a handball on Bierman.
There will be a 20-minute autograph session on the field following tonight's game. Fans may enter the field the east end of the stadium only. As a reminder, no food, drinks, or soccer balls are permitted on the field.
Banjo with a free header. Walsh trying to flick it along for Kerr, and that was a bit shaky in the back from St. Louis. A couple of free headers for the Pittsburgh attackers.
Banjo just had so much time on the ball, but he has great vision. I've been extremely impressed with him, and I think he's completely shaken up this Pittsburgh attacking front because he's been great tonight. His ideas are right. He finished one early on, good awareness, but he's played a couple good balls lately to Walsh. The past two, he's known where Walsh is. Walsh gets under him, and he's able to find him with his first touch.
Good step from Jamal Jack as it falls to Green. Green taken down, but the referee will play on. Hollingsworth, Banjo in space, has a couple defenders to deal with. Banjo still on it, slipping it through for Kerr. Kerr lofting it towards the back post, looking for Hollingsworth. But a nice defensive play from St. Louis's back line as Pittsburgh really starting to put their stamp on the offensive third. And we're getting word now that Sean Rudolph, the hero in the New York Red Bull 2 win, is going to come on. And it looks like he's going to replace Jose Angulo, who was responsible for the equalizer in the 30th minute. Pass possibly intended for the ball boy. We'll never know. And it'll be a St. Louis throw-in, and the aforementioned substitution will find their way onto the field. It is Seth Rudolph. He had the phenomenal goal in the 87th minute against New York Red Bull 2. And it looks like it's going to be Howell coming on as well for Pittsburgh. And St. Louis taking their sweet time, getting their substitutions on and off the field. House substitution will have to wait, as it'll be a goal kick coming for Broom. And the clock continues to dwindle down on Pittsburgh. And this would be massive if they could somehow salvage a point out of this game, obviously going on the road in their next two. And it is Howell coming in, replacing Hollingsworth. Marshall with a nice shift in the middle of the pitch today.
And look for Pittsburgh to start sending numbers forward. Hollingsworth was playing in that central area, but Howell's going to probably play higher, more centrally, and then they'll send Kerr higher up just to push the pace in the last couple minutes.
Kevon Walsh out for Kerr. The service is a good one. But there was Cochran. Or rather Sheldon, who was there for the header. Washington finding Green. Now for Thompson with the one-time strike, and that was Cochran getting in the way of it. It's a good look from Jack Thompson, who had plenty of momentum coming forward. And that's a bad giveaway from the former Messiah Falcon. Now Alvarez trying to get around Thompson, and it is going to be a foul, a professional foul there from Jack Thompson.
Absolutely, Thompson knew if he didn't take him down right there that the numbers going forward for St. Louis were better in their favor, so he's just trying to slow the play down to allow his team to drop and defend.
So now if that's a professional foul, if that foul is made at any other level, like at the collegiate level, is it just called a collegiate foul?
I don't think so. I've never heard that before. I think it's just called a professional.
It's your brain buster for the day.
I've never heard that before. Oh, that was funny.
Guzman wasting time away in the corner. We'll go back to Pittsburgh as St. Louis trying to do everything they can to come out of Pittsburgh alive and with 3 points. Sneaks through for Guzman again. Tavio Guzman, 26 years old, originally from Guadalajara, Mexico. In his first season with the Riverhounds, we mentioned before that he played for Preki at Sacramento, won the 2014 USL Cup. Played in every game during that Sacramento magical run. And Preki obviously wanting to have that talent that he had at Sacramento at his new stop in St. Louis, and it's paying dividends as he certainly put in a good shift in the middle of the field, breaking play up, and Guzman's one of those piano lifters that we like to talk about, not necessarily a piano player with his offensive ability, but his defensive responsibilities have certainly been a lot, and I think he's taken them and run with them.
Well, and I think those players are so special because they might not always be on the stat sheets, but just they're so important to the team. They set up the goals, or they set up the assist to the goal, and just those players are so important to have, and maybe they don't feel they need all the recognition. There's some players, you know, they want their name out there. They want to be known as the goal scorer, whatever. But I think it's so important to just have those players that just do their job day in, day out. You know what they're going to give in training, what they're going to bring to the games, and I just think that's a really important part of every team.
Well, we're certainly in the drama portion of the game. Any goal from either side will mean just a bit more as far as the final result is concerned. As Pittsburgh searching for an equalizer, St. Louis on the other side trying to get an insurance goal and come away with 3 points. St. Louis again has not been beaten yet this season, and it looks like it will stay that way unless Pittsburgh can somehow find 2 goals in the matter of about 5 or 6 minutes. Crazier things have happened in this sport. St. Louis continue to look strong on the ball and in possession. Pittsburgh just having a tough time getting it out of their own end. Greenspan gets caught up, and it'll stay with St. Louis.
St. Louis now just taking their time to get to the throw in. There's no need to have the closest guy throw it in real quick. If they can drain a couple more seconds off the clock, I'm sure they'll be happy to do so.
Rudolph hunting down Soto, but it'll be a foul on the substitute. And Soto gives it away. And a bit of a rookie mistake there from the first-year man, as Guzman's touch will roll over the end line, and Pittsburgh in desperation scramble mode at the moment. Greenspan and Rudolph in a foot race, back for Broom. Great touch from Walsh. Out for Kerr. Trying to find Howell, or rather was it Green? And Gorick now just playing games with the Riverhounds. 88.5 minutes gone by. And the Christian Valesky goal right now separating the two teams in what could be the first win or loss for either team in the all-time series. First 3 times these teams have played each other, all ended in a draw. Could we see some more Pittsburgh late game magic? Being told now by the 4th official that we're going to have 4 minutes of stoppage time added on. Here's Howell on the turn. Still Howell. Trying to get in the right side of Stoikov, but like Guzman, he's done a great job in the middle of the field, just disrupting play for the opposition. Stoikov has certainly played his fair share of football around the world. He's been seen in Greece, Serbia, along with LA2, and has made a few appearances in the Europa League as well. Banjo. Finding Walsh. And he gives it away again, and That's more or less been the story for Pittsburgh once they enter the final third. It just seems to fall apart a little bit, especially late in the game.
And they have the right ideas, but the final pass isn't there.
Kerr with the service, and right on cue, just like my broadcast partner said, the final pass has not been there. That last instance, no different. And here is the official word from the fourth referee.
Minimum of 4 minutes stoppage time at the end of the game.
Plenty of time for an equalizer, but the way that Pittsburgh has operated in the final third tonight, it just makes you think that they might have run out of gas and maybe still a bit of a hangover from the Charleston game.
But they've had the right ideas. Banjo has done a great job of showing for the entry pass. He's had good touches, whether it's laying it off or turning. So they have the first part. That's great. Now it's time to build it up. They still have time. They've sent their outside backs forward. They've gotten success from those guys getting forward, so they need to keep doing that and start serving balls in, but getting if they're going to serve it in, they need to have numbers, because if they just have one person in there, nothing's going to come from that. So they have the pieces, it's just putting it together.
Broom just thumps it forward. Greenspan trying to flick it on as Pittsburgh doing everything but the kitchen sink. That does include Joe Greenspan at St. Louis's defense. Howell bringing it down. Finding the feet of Walsh. Now wide for Kerr. Now Thompson. Thompson has a rip. It's deflected in front. Still work to do for St. Louis. And it's good communication from Sharpie and Gorick. Sharpie easily could have tried to play that, and he would have been in trouble with the backspin being in play, but great communication from the two, and St. Louis just around 2 minutes away from sealing their third win of the season.
When the St. Louis defenders, as you said, they were on the same page. They knew what to do, but the little things keep causing breakdowns for Pittsburgh. They have a good build-up once again. Kerr gets the ball wide. He has Thompson there. Thompson wants the ball on his left foot, and he touches it to his right. So Thompson can't get a clear look on frame. He has to take a touch to bring it in, when ideally, if that ball's just played to his left foot, he can run up and strike it and get a good look on frame. So it's just little things. The movement is right. They're there. It's just the final piece is not connecting tonight.
You see Seth Rudolph giving troubles for the Pittsburgh backline. Wasn't able to keep it in play, but his job is more to just waste time and give the backline problems rather than to hold on to the ball. Here's Alvarez in plenty of space, and he's just going to slow things down. St. Louis going to take the air out of the ball. Not literally, obviously. And I guess it's tough to say that with the whole Tom Brady thing, so I'll stray away from deflation references. If you were watching this game and you were blinded by the score, if the score was blacked out right now, you wouldn't know that Pittsburgh is down a goal. It would just seem a bit lifeless down the stretch.
Yeah, this is just a different team that we saw at the front part of this game. We saw them early. They came out strong and lost a little bit as the half went on. The second half started strong, but once again, just kind of the life was kind of taken out of them. And I don't know if they're frustrated from just simple things not working like they have in the past, but they just haven't been able to build, and they're just struggling to just connect like they normally have success doing.
Pittsburgh just right about out of time, as there's a heavy challenge on the far side as Jamal Jack gets shaken up after that play. And that's going to do it here at Highmark. St. Louis continue their streak of being unbeaten as they take 3 points away from Pittsburgh at Highmark Stadium. Christian Valesky's goal proves to be the difference maker. It was a beautiful ball from Wes Sharpie. Valesky put the finishing touches on it, and then St. Louis as a team closed the game out. Great effort on the back line from St. Louis. Pittsburgh had their chances in the first half, and after that Banjo goal, they seemed to be flying, but as soon as St. Louis equalized, things just started to fall apart a little bit for Pittsburgh.
Well, as soon as St. Louis established their possession, things started to fall apart. Pittsburgh had a lot of success when their defensive pressure was high up the field, but once St. Louis found a way to break that down, Pittsburgh just couldn't get back into it.
Well, that's going to do it for the 90 minutes, but we do have postgame coming up next, so don't go anywhere. Again, the final score from Pittsburgh, St. Louis 2, Pittsburgh 1. Don't go anywhere. We'll have postgame highlights, match stats coming up next.
Through the years, you've done right by investing in your home. And now, you can use that equity to borrow money for the things you need. With a low 1.99% APR and no fees, you can apply for a home equity loan online and use the money to upgrade to that minivan, make home improvements, or finance college. At Clearview, we can help you find ways to use the equity in your home for more important things. Let us help. Visit us online for more information. Clearview Federal Credit Union, the next generation of personal banking.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
How many times have you done it before? You good?
Yeah.
Okay. You got 50 seconds. Yep, just stay here for a little bit.
Hold for that.
Yeah.
Call 412 Doctors for an appointment with a sports medicine specialist at Allegheny Health Network.
Come celebrate the 5th anniversary of Highmark Stadium as the Hounds take on the Harrisburg City Islanders in the first leg of the 2017 Keystone Derby. Presented by K&L Gates and the Pennsylvania Lottery. Anniversary water bottles to the first 2,000 fans in attendance. Dollar beers until kickoff. Door prizes and special $5 general admission tickets while supplies last. Visit riverhounds.com or call 412-865-GOAL.
Final score here from Pittsburgh, St. Louis 2, Pittsburgh 1. And the Riverhound fans obviously applauding their players for a hard-fought effort, but it will conclude at that as they will not get anything from this match. St. Louis snatching all 3 points, and it was on the back of Christian Valesky's goal midway through the second half. And we'll go to highlights, and Morgan, this game had a bit of a crazy start to it, but it ended up being a bit of a dull match after the first 2 goals were scored.
Yeah, we talked about it. Gorick's tough giveaway. Can't happen there. K. Banjo right in the spot he needs to be. Just shows so much composure when that ball is at his feet. Gets a look up with defenders coming at him and just places it where it needs to go. Just shows so much composure in that moment because he has a defender coming in sliding, sees an open goal, but does a great job just staying composed.
And after the goal, St. Louis would obviously be trying to create as many opportunities as possible. This one just whiskers wide, and that was the closest Valesky would get until his game winner about midway through the second half.
And he was dangerous around the box, but as you said, that was his best opportunity until he scored. But K. Banjo, once again, I said his composure earlier. He showed it facing up, getting his turn, getting a look on frame, and just doesn't have to crush the ball. He just knows where he wants it, and he pushes it to the corner, hits the post. It doesn't come off, just misses his mark, but just so much composure from him tonight.
And then it was Jose Angulo who then would be the devastator for Pittsburgh, his former club.
Well, we mentioned he scored 15 goals for Pittsburgh the year he played with them, the 2013 USL Player of the Year, but just shows how dangerous he can be. A good entry ball, but the way he pushes the ball back, he's able to turn his hips around and find that far post corner. That's extremely difficult. That is not an easy shot to make.
And it was actually Wes Sharpie who ended up being the assister on that goal, and a goal we'll see in a couple seconds as well. Pittsburgh had a couple of decent chances. This was probably the best one in the second half.
Jamal Jack was really good on corners, both defensive and attacking. He was able to find the ball, but nothing was able to come from it. But the ball from Sharpie set up Valesky's goal. The vision he had to split the defenders and the pace he played the ball with. Beautiful pass in. He sees it, places it. Valesky just beats his defender to the front post, is able to touch it in.
And we'll take a look at some of the final stats. And possession actually started balancing out, but that's probably just because St. Louis was sitting in. But, I mean, you see the shots on target. There was only 2 of them for St. Louis, but 2 goals.
I guess that's the way to do it. If you're only going to have 2, you might as well put them in.
Might as well.
I said at halftime I'd like to see them get more shots on target. They only got one, but it was a goal, so I guess that worked out for them. But as you said, the possession equaled out, but most of it was for Pittsburgh, just passing it around, but more in the central area of the field. They didn't have much possession in their attacking third, and that's what I'd like to see. They had the runs, but nothing came from it, so I think that's what I'd like to see next game.
Well, it was an exciting match of football through and through. Certainly had a few moments here and there where it looked a bit slow, but at the end of the day, it was St. Louis who ended up getting the 3 points. Christian Valesky's goal midway through the second half proved to be the difference maker. For everyone here at the USL, I'm Tyler Terran signing off for Morgan Conklin, saying thanks for now and thanks for tuning in.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League may not be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the express written consent from the United Soccer League.